Hey, welcome to Owning Life. Good to see you. This is Karen, Joko, and I am here just trying to own my own life and empower you to do the same. And I'm really grateful that this week we got to put that in practice with some ritual and ceremony in regards to a big life transition. My friend has been in the middle of a divorce for some time, however long these things take, and it was finalized the other day. And when I saw her after she had gotten that very serious, very final paperwork, she shared her sadness with me. And by the way, I do have her permission to share this story, but she shared her sadness, the what ifs, and if I only, and I should have, and what if I made the wrong decisions, all these thoughts that come along with something that was so final. And she was just really sad about the loss of all of the hopes and dreams that came along with that marriage and that home that she had helped to build, that family she had helped to build, all of the good days, all of the fun that she had and that we had as her friends. That was the house to hang out in. And we have so many good memories. She has so many good memories, but they're mixed up and all tangled up with the not so pleasant memories. But still there's this finality of, that's it, chapter closed. I'm really sad about all of the future that I was planning on creating. That's now a future that won't come to pass. Now, her future is going to be great. I have no doubt another future is going to come to pass. That is the one that she should be living, but you don't want to hear that in the moment, or, maybe you do, but in the moment you just have to feel what it feels like to feel loss. And she did. Another friend of hers is now a sound healer. So he's got the singing bowls, the crystal bowls. And he offered to do a sound healing for her. And separately, I was like, we should have a funeral for, this life that we are laying to rest. Of course, she loves the idea, and we work together to collaborate what that event is going to look like. And it ended up being exactly what it needed to be. It was friends gathering together in community. It was good food. And if we're honest, it's the wake that happens after a funeral with, staying up late and drowning your sorrows a little bit, but also being a little joyful with your people. It was that sound bath where we all laid together on the floor on mats and we're just covered in vibration. We were able to just lay there and feel and be connected to one another. That sound healing really loosens some things up, changes the energy, right? So we got that energy shifted around a little bit. We ate together, we shared that meal. And then we gathered around a fire pit. And we all wrote down the things that we hope that she's able to now put aside. But it was also like the things that were opposite of what she really deserves in her life. So what are the things that the life that she was living that were not helpful for her, that once we burn them, we are now making space for the things that will light up her life. Excuse the analogy, the pun or whatever. But it's, the things that will empower her. The love that is waiting out there for her, that she had to close this other door in order to receive a partnership that is right for her. And she said her piece. She was, grateful to have us there, grateful for us to be in her corner, grateful for us who are willing to listen to her in her sad moments, all during her marriage and then now into this time of transition. Just the way that friends show up for one another. And this was a great example of what that looks like, to have the community when the chips are down, when things are falling apart, when your life is completely transformed from what it was into this unknown, to know that you are being held by your friends who can tell you what's worthy about you, gifts are you bringing to the world that you should celebrate? And then we drank. And that was that. So a couple things that I feel after that event is, one, I wish more people had these kinds of funerals for transitions, or just this ceremony around a transition that caps off one time and brings you in to another time, that sets you up, that orientates yourself for this next season of your life. I love doing those, and I hope to do more. But I also want to make sure that people know that any of those elements can also be used like in a funeral for a person. People have this idea in their head that a funeral for a person would be like in a chapel that has no meaning to you, or in a church that also maybe has no meaning to you. That is, frankly, boring, or not at all really speaks to the person. It's just a thing you do, and you just find somebody to do it, and it doesn't really resonate, but you feel like you have to, and so you do it, and it's not ideal. But I want people to know you can call the sound healer dude, and you can have them bring the bowls as a part of a funeral. And we already know food and drinking are part of funerals. We don't think of it as the main part. We don't think of it as the funeral itself, but that's actually happening a lot more than you think right now. The service itself includes food and drink, includes that bonding that we do as a community over a meal that just comes naturally to us as people. It's natural to bond and be together and share stories and share love with the backdrop of a meal. I was really proud of my friend for allowing us to have that, to participate in it herself, and to be open to the idea that it's okay to deeply lean into grief and loss and endings and set yourself up for moving on. But here's maybe what you really want to know, and that is, how did it work? How did it end up for her? And I can share a little bit about that too. She woke up the next day and knew she had not changed. She knew that she was still getting up to her life, which included sadness, but also included the love of her friends. She did feel lighter, but it didn't solve the grief of the divorce. And I think that's another thing that sometimes we mistake, is that once we have, or even talk about funerals as a way of closure. And it's true if you think of closure as closing the book and setting it over here, but you've still read it. You still own it. It's still impacting you. It's still rippling out through now how you behave in the world. What you've learned in that book still applies and is still there. You're just not actively reading it anymore. So I want people to know that when they have these ceremonies, that you're not going to wake up tomorrow and it's all going to be better. But you're going to wake up tomorrow with the confidence maybe that you need to move forward, with a trajectory, with love and support. You are going somewhere and you know you're not going alone. And you know that they accept any feelings that you're bringing along with you. That's a mindset shift, and it's subtle, and it's worth it. But I really don't want people to feel that it's going to be a noticeable, huge shift between the day of the loss and the day of the funeral. Does that minimize its importance? No, it's just a way to set expectations. Know that that is part of the process of healing. It can be beautiful, and it can even be fun. So those are my thoughts as my friend closes this chapter of her life. And frankly, I close this chapter of my life because a lot of my life is tied up into their home and their events, and summers at their house. And life's going to be different for me too. I'm not taking away from her. Again, she's okay with me saying these things. But, loss affects lots of people. And that's another thing to be okay with. It's okay if someone else's very acute loss does create some loss for you too. We're not comparing feelings here. We're acknowledging our own feelings in the midst of someone else having theirs. And that's okay too. And that'll be a whole other topic. So if you want to hear more about that another time, I would ask that you would please subscribe and, encourage me, if you would, to share this, because honestly, creating this has been easy enough, but I'm a little shy to share it, and that's not sustainable. So if you picked up one thing from this, or if there was some other conversation you wish I was having, let me know. But for now, I think you guys are great. I want you to have the best week ever. And when that is not real, I want you to have the best week that you can. And I hope that you find moments of peace within it. And I hope that I see you the next time I'm here.